didn't want us together. Then she vanished overnight, and I found her hidden in his trunk while he claimed she ran away. I'm not sure how to start this without sounding dramatic, but I guess there's no way around it. The story of how I almost lost the girl I loved and nearly got myself killed begins with the night her father forgot who I was. Literally. My name is Evan. I'm 20 years old, and at the time, I had no idea that the quiet man who lived upstairs, the man who raised the girl I adored, was fighting a silent war inside his own mind. I didn't know that he had blackouts so deep he lost hours, days, moments erased like chalk under rain. I didn't know that his mind could split, twist, vanish, or that the pieces left behind were sometimes angry, paranoid, or dangerously afraid. And I didn't know that eventually, all those missing pieces would collide and explode at once, dragging me and Mia straight into the center of a storm none of us were prepared for. Back then, things seemed simple. I was working construction up at 5, on site by 6, home by late afternoon smelling like sawdust and sunburn. Mia was finishing college journalism major, always stressed, always tired, always scribbling notes in the margins of her notebooks. She lived with her dad, Robert Langston, in a quiet 2-story house on the edge of Willow Creek. I'd been dating her for 7 months, and we were deep into that stage where you think the other person is the best thing that's ever happened to you. And she is. We were that obnoxious couple that shared earbuds, held hands while grocery shopping, cooked dinner together, took silly photos on her Polaroid camera, wrote little love notes on sticky pads. It felt like the kind of love that heals old wounds. And her dad, well, he wasn't warm, but he wasn't hostile. He was polite in that distant way some older men are, as if still deciding whether you're harmless or a threat. He'd nod at me when I came in. Sometimes he'd ask about work, rough day, or stay hydrated out there. Nothing strange, nothing alarming, nothing that hinted at the truth, nothing that prepared me for what was coming. The first time it happened, I came home late from a shift. It was almost 9, the sky already dim. I threw my jacket over a chair and called out, "Hey, I'm back." No answer. The house felt off to quiet, to still, like a photograph instead of a home. I walked toward the kitchen, and there he was, hunched over the table, one hand pressed flat against the wood as though holding himself up. A glass was shattered on the floor beside him, and there was red wine spilled across the tiles like blood. His breathing was slow, shaky. I stepped closer, confused. "Sir, you okay?" He lifted his head. His eyes were wide and focused, confused in a way that made my skin crawl. He stared at me like I was a complete stranger. "Who are you?" he whispered. I froze. "I'm Evan. I'm Mia's boyfriend." He blinked rapidly, panic flickering across his face. He looked around the kitchen as if trying to recognize it, then back at me. His expression twisted, fear, anger, disorientation all crashing together. Then, like a flipped switch, he relaxed. Or rather, his face fell blank, motionless, neutral. He muttered something about feeling tired and stumbled upstairs. I didn't sleep that night. In the morning, he acted like nothing happened. He didn't remember the broken glass. He didn't remember asking who I was. He even offered me coffee, completely calm, as if the night before had never existed. I convinced myself I'd overreacted. But deep down, the first crack had appeared. It didn't take long for cracks to widen. Little things at first, lights left on in the middle of the night, the front door unlocked at 3 a.m., the TV playing some old war documentary at full volume while he sat on the couch staring through it, dishes in the sink he didn't remember using, muddy footprints leading to the back door, car keys in the freezer, strange phone calls from unknown numbers. I'd wake up sometimes and hear him pacing in the hallway, whispering to himself. Once, I heard him muttering, "Don't go downstairs. Don't let her see. Don't let him near her." When I asked who he meant, he stared at me blankly, then wandered away. I kept telling myself, maybe he's just stressed. Maybe he's depressed. Maybe this is grief, old trauma, insomnia, anything, because the alternative that something was deeply wrong terrified me. I didn't want to believe the man raising the girl I loved was becoming unpredictable. But fear became impossible to ignore the night he threatened me. I was in the living room scrolling on my phone when he came in, rigid and tight-jawed. His eyes were not the eyes he usually had. These were colder, sharper, more aware, like someone entirely different was wearing his face. "You need to stay away from my daughter," he said quietly. I sat up. "Sir, what?" "You heard me." He stepped closer. "I know men like you. I know what you want. Don't come near her again." I was too stunned to respond. He glared at me for a long moment, then turned and walked upstairs. When Mia got home a few minutes later, she noticed I was pale and shaky. "Hey, what's wrong?" she asked. I couldn't tell her. It felt like betrayal of him, betrayal of her trust. And part of me kept hoping it was just a bad day, momentary stress, something we could eventually joke about. But the truth that he wasn't fully in control of himself kept growing heavier. The next turning point happened on a rainy afternoon. I went into the attic to help Mia look for old photo albums for a school project. She grew frustrated because she couldn't find them, so after she went out to class, I stayed behind searching. That's when I found it, an old metal box hidden behind dusty suitcases, filled with thick stacks of papers, medical records, therapy reports, clinical notes, bills, evaluations, diagnoses, pages describing long-term dissociative episodes, intermittent amnesia, memory fragmentation, and episodes of altered perception and behavior. There were notes from his therapist. Patient expresses fear of becoming someone else. Episodes increasing in frequency. Patient becomes confused about interactions he does not recall. Potential risk to self or others if stress worsens. I felt sick, cold, like everything I'd worried about but pushed. The side was not just true, but worse. There was no time to react, no time to think, because the stairs creaked. I turned, heart pounding, and there he was standing halfway up, staring at me in the dim attic light. "What are you doing?" he asked. I hid the papers behind my back. "Just looking for photos for Mia." He stepped closer. His gaze flicked to the papers I wasn't holding very well. His face changed, panic, anger, fear, all mixing into something I didn't recognize. "Put those away," he said. "Those are private." I wasn't trying to pry, I stammered. "I swear, I just put them away." I shoved them back into the box. He watched every movement, breathing harder. Then he whispered, "You shouldn't have seen that." That night, I couldn't hide the truth anymore. I decided I had to confront him when Mia wasn't home, before this spiraled further and hurt her. I waited until she left for work. Then, I invited him to sit at the table. I put 2 cups of coffee down, one for him, one for me. My hands were shaking. "Sir," I began, "I need to talk to you about something important." His eyes flicked to the folder I'd placed on the table. I opened it slowly, showing the papers, the notes, the diagnosis, the warnings. His face drained of color. His breathing turned sharp. "I'm not judging you," I said firmly. This is serious. You need help. You need." He slammed his hand on the table. Coffee spilled. "You don't know anything," he shouted. "You don't know what it's like. You don't know what I'm trying to protect her from." Before I could respond, he grabbed the edge of the table and flipped it. The sound echoed through the whole house. A plate shattered. The coffee mug smashed. I jumped back, adrenaline kicking in. He lunged toward me, eyes wild. I pushed him back, not hurting him, just defending myself. He stumbled, breathing heavy, then stopped. His face changed again, turned blank, empty, as if the anger had evaporated, leaving him confused. "What happened?" he whispered. It was terrifying, watching someone forget their own violence. He walked out the door without another word. Half an hour later, Mia came home early. She saw the broken dishes, the flipped table, the spilled coffee. She saw my shaken state. She saw the papers. And her face collapsed. "Evan, what is this?" I explained everything, the blackouts, the threats, the medical records, the confrontation. She cried. Not because she was angry at me, but because a part of her world, the part she trusted most, was now broken. "I knew he wasn't okay," she whispered. "But I didn't know it was this bad." We made the hardest decision of our lives, to leave. Not because we stopped caring, but because we were no longer safe. We packed our bags before dawn, clothes, toothbrushes, a few sentimental items. I hid the documents in my toolbox so her dad wouldn't find them if he tried to stop us. We left quietly, locking the door behind us, not knowing we'd never sleep there again. The new apartment was tiny, cramped and cold, but it was ours. It was safety. Or at least we thought it was. For a while, life settled. We cooked cheap meals. We slept close every night. We worked. We healed. She enrolled in therapy. I picked up more shifts. Months rolled by. The quiet was almost comforting. Almost enough to make us forget. But trauma doesn't forget. One Saturday in early summer, we decided to take a drive to a lake 2 hours away. Just a peaceful day trip, no stress, no past, no shadows chasing us. We parked by an old oak tree, opened the trunk, and started unloading blankets and snacks. The sunlight reflected on the lake. Birds chirped. For a moment, the world felt bright. Then I heard the engine deep, slow, growing louder. A black SUV pulled up behind our car, stopping too close to be coincidence. The driver's door opened. Someone stepped out. I recognized the boots before the face. Evan. Mia whispered, voice cracking. Her father stood there silent, hair disheveled, face pale with exhaustion. And in his right hand, hanging loosely by his leg, was an axe. Not a big one. Not a rusty horror movie prop. Just a regular wood-splitting axe. Ordinary. Everyday. But in that moment, it was the most terrifying thing I'd ever seen. He wasn't shouting. He wasn't running. He wasn't wild. He was quiet. Too quiet. His eyes were glossy and focused, not quite present. You took her, he said softly. You took her away from me. Mia grabbed my hand. Dad, please. Put that down. He didn't seem to hear her. Or maybe he did, but the part of him that cared couldn't reach the surface. You can't hide from me, he whispered. You can't. He stepped forward. I reacted without thinking. Instinct. Pure adrenaline. I grabbed Mia, shoved her behind me, and stepped between them. Stop. I shouted. He raised the axe, not fully, not even like a proper swing. More like a reflex, a motion without intention. His eyes flickered with confusion, fear, rage, all tangled in one. I lunged forward, grabbed his wrist, and twisted. The axe fell to the ground with a dull thud. He staggered back, gasping, Dad! Mia cried. Please, stop, please. He looked at her, really looked, and his face softened with horror, like he was waking up from a nightmare he didn't know he was having. I'm sorry, he whispered, trembling. I didn't mean. I don't know why. I can't control. But it was too late. We ran. We threw our things into the trunk, slammed the doors, and sped down the dirt road, dust flying behind us. My hands shook so violently I could barely grip the wheel. Mia sobbed, curled against the passenger door. We drove straight to the police station. We filed a report. We pressed charges. We got a restraining order. And for the first time in his life, the system intervened. The following months were chaos, therapy sessions, police interviews, court hearings, panic attacks, nightmares. But we survived them together. Her father was ordered into psychiatric care, monitored, medicated, supervised. He wasn't a monster. He wasn't evil. He was sick. And finally someone acknowledged it. Mia and I moved again. A better apartment this time. 2 bedrooms, bright walls, quiet neighbors. She started working for a local newspaper. I got promoted to foreman at my construction job. We got a dog, a goofy black lab named Pepper, who ate half the couch within the first week. Life wasn't instantly perfect. Healing took time. Trust took time. Love took patience, effort, vulnerability. But every night, we chose each other again. We made dinners. We laughed at dumb movies. We fixed things, broken chairs, broken pipes, broken hearts. And in all the darkness we survived, we found something bright. We found us. Not the fantasy version. Not the perfect Instagram version. But the real one. The one that fought. The one that cried. The one that stayed. The one that built something stronger than fear. Mia says our love feels like a house built from scratch, every beam placed carefully, every brick earned. Not flawless, but sturdy, true, solid. I think she's right. As for her father, he's stable now. Better, but not all the way healed. He's learning, taking his medication, going through supervised therapy. He asked to see Mia one day, not alone, but in a clinic with professionals present. She went, they talked, they cried. They started the slow, painful process of rebuilding something broken long before I ever entered the picture. Maybe one day they'll fully reconcile. Maybe not. But at least now, the man she sees is her real father, not the fractured, Forgotten pieces of him that once threatened us. As for me, I don't fear him anymore. I don't hate him. If anything, I pity the version of him that got lost in the shadows of his mind. The version that never meant to hurt anyone but did anyway. Because the truth is, mental illness doesn't make someone a villain. Silence does. Shame does. Secrets do. But love, honest love, shines light into dark spaces. And that's what saved us. Not strength. Not luck. Not fear. Love, messy, flawed, stubborn love. The kind that stays. The kind that survives. The kind that turns a broken past into a future worth fighting for. And that future is finally ours.